What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So, yes, the Anaheim Ducks beat the Carolina Hurricane 2-1 in overtime. So, luckily, it didn't have to go into shootouts like it has been. So, good thing for them. Then, USC basketball beat Stanford. They had like a 20 some odd point comeback, which was great, and they beat them in overtime, 82-78. So, I'm glad they were able to get that Pac-12 win. And they go on the road, I believe, up to the Oregon schools this weekend. And I know they split one the last time Oregon was down here, so we'll see how that goes. Then a little bit of USC news for football. Their offensive guard, Elijah Vera Tucker, he's a redshirt sophomore, but because he's been in college for 3 years, he's eligible to leave. And he was getting some looks, but he decided to return back to USC for at least the foreseeable future, so I'm happy about that. Then also the tight end, Daniel Matabebe. I know we talked about him last year that he wasn't going to play this last season because he was going to focus on academics. So apparently he has. I know his brother transferred out to Illinois, but he is going to come back to USC to an already loaded group of tight ends that we have from recruiting the past couple years. So we'll see what he does, but I don't expect much from him. Then an ex-USC center, Ryan Khalil, has put the name out there of who he wants the defensive coordinator to be for USC football, and that's Luke Kuechly, the ex-Carolina Panther linebacker who just recently retired right now because of the amount of concussions he said he's had and doesn't want his future to be hindered by it with all these injuries. So it'd be pretty cool. He's a very smart guy from Boston College. I think he'd be a really cool guy to give a chance, especially in a year where we have nothing really to prove, and we'll see how this season ends up for Clay Helton. But yeah, we'll talk about his future in a bit. Then the Lakers are in a bunch of trading rumors right now. I believe earlier this week it started with Derrick Rose, basically giving up Kyle Kuzma for him, sending Kuzma back to Detroit where he's from. I don't know. It seems like it could work on paper, but when you see it, Derrick Rose is a guy who needs the ball a lot, and I don't know if he can really play with a guy like LeBron who also needs the ball a lot, unless they literally just keep Derrick Rose for the second team and replace him for LeBron to come in the game to sub him out, but that's going to be tough. And then very random, but honestly thing I've been trying to happen for a couple years now is Zach LaVine from the Chicago Bulls, ex-UCLA guy as well. There's some rumors that he might be traded for guys like Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green as well. Not sure if this trade will actually happen just because the money doesn't really fit and the Lakers would have to give up a lot of guys just to do it. And it's a guy who's very talented offensively, but he does suffer a bit on defense as well, even with as much athleticism as he does have. So I really like him as a talent, but when the Lakers sucked, yes, he was an upgrade, but right now with a guy like LeBron, I don't know, it might be tough to get him. But another guy who a lot more people in the NBA circles like than I do is Robert Covington, who I think only blossomed in Philadelphia because he had two stars around him out there, and he was able to get his shots and play somewhat deep whenever he wanted. And then now that he got traded to Minnesota the past year and a half, he's been okay, but hasn't been as solid as he used to be, especially numbers-wise. But if the Lakers want to get an athletic wing guy to play some defense for them and knock down corner threes when they need a play late in the shot clock, and hopefully he can step up for them. But I don't know, we'll see what you would have to give up for him, but it might just be a one-year rental as well. Then as far as the Lakers playing, they went to Houston and got that W last Saturday night. It was 124-115, and they did it without Anthony Davis as well. That was really cool. LeBron James had 31 and 12. KCP had a nice dunk there as well, as you guys are seeing. So I was glad they're able to get this W on the road. I was watching the first half, and of course they're losing by 10, 15 points, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'm just going to watch something else. And of course getting updates on my phone, and then saw they're leading by 10, so I thought it was safe to go back, and luckily it was. So I was able to finish the last couple minutes of the game, and luckily they were able to still get the victory even though I was watching. And yeah, they did put a stinker on MLK Day when they played at Boston. They lost pretty bad, but yeah, at least they'll have a couple games this week against New York teams to get on the W. So we'll see how they do later in this video. Alrighty, so Isaiah Simmons, a linebacker from Clemson, who I really like, who's declared for the NFL draft this past couple weeks. I think he could be a really dynamic player, even for the Chargers, even though, say, linebacker is not really a priority for the Chargers. I just feel that to pair him up with Derwin James for the next 3 to 10 years, depending if you could re-sign them, they'll be interchangeable, because this guy, even though he's listed as a linebacker, the past couple years he did play at the safety position as well, his first couple years in college and for most of his football career. So if there were injuries, he could play out there too. I just think having Swiss Army knives like those guys on defense could benefit you more, and just working for getting quarterbacks, whether it's later in the draft or even through free agency, I think is a smarter move for the Chargers. But as usual, that's just my opinion. And speaking of the Chargers, they're right now at the Senior Bowl scouting all those guys, but they're saying they might fall in love with Jordan Love, the quarterback from Utah State. I looked at some of his tape already, some of his highlights, and yeah, it's against crappier competition. He did go to Utah State, and a lot of times his guys are just wide open and he has to make the throw, and yes, they're on time, but a lot of times it's, like I said, it's just easy pitch and throw out there. So it could be misleading of him being a really good quarterback and having great stats, even though he is playing against crappier competition. So I guess he's a project guy, but if you're going to waste a first round draft pick on him, I don't think you should. If you're going to get him later after the first round, then I'm fine with that. But a guy I'm really interested in is Jalen Hurts, because a lot of people don't believe in him right now, and all he's done is be successful in college. And whether he was at Alabama or even Oklahoma this past year, I think if you develop him and create an offense that's better towards him, let him sit out for a year or two, and then bring in whoever you want this year as an older quarterback that's not Phillip Rivers, and then bring in this guy with an offense that suits him, then I think he could be really awesome, because he's willing to do anything for the team, and he's a great team player as well. So I just think he could be a steal in the draft, because he's not projected till later. So you get a bunch of guys, whether it's offensive linemen and defensive guys, to help shore up the rest of your team, and then get him. But that's just the way I think. So Graham Harrell, the offensive coordinator, for USC, he did recently interview for the offensive coordinator job at the Philadelphia Eagles, but he did turn it down and said he was staying at USC, which is cool. But there were also rumors coming out from another article saying, is he only staying because if USC sucks next year and fires Helton, then are they going to offer him the head coaching job, and is he going to risk that and try to go for the head coaching job and try to get first dibs, because he's already in-house, so it wouldn't be that much money or that different of a hire for a lot of the recruits coming in. So I think he could make a good head coach one day. We'll see if it's going to be at USC or not, but hopefully he does at least stay for this season as well. Then Duke went on the road. No, this time it was at home, and beat Miami. They beat him up pretty bad. It was like 89-59, so a pretty big 30-point victory. So I was glad to see that. And I think Matthew Hurt had like 22 points. A lot of the guys showed up as well. Cassius Stanley had another big dunk in there as well. So I'm glad they were able to get this big win against a sneaky team like Miami, who has a lot of athletes, and hopefully they're able to get a couple more wins this week. I think they get a big time off right now. For some reason, it wasn't during the holidays, but now if they're getting I think they don't even play until like next week, which is pretty crazy. So hopefully we'll have some more highlights then. But as I was alluding to, having a top tier quarterback for the Chargers to have the next year or two, so then they could develop another guy behind them. I'm thinking, like how this article said, Tom Brady would be a great choice. But like I said, if it's only for a year or two, because I honestly don't see him playing past that just physically. I don't think he can do that, but could be an interesting option for them. Freaking Cardinals. And the Lakers, they went on the road, as I mentioned, in New York, and they beat the Knicks 100-92. LeBron James, I believe he had 21, and Anthony Davis was finally back more. He did return for that Boston game, but now he was playing a lot more minutes in this game, obviously, because he had 28 points. So we're glad to see that. Hopefully they can continue it tonight against the Brooklyn Nets, who do have Kyrie Irving back, ex-Duke point guard. So it should be a good matchup. We'll see what they can do on this Thursday night. Then they also mentioned that projecting the schedules of how teams did this last year for your football schedule for next year for USC, they actually have the second toughest schedule that they're playing. Obviously that always goes up when you put Alabama in your thing, and then they're also playing the likes of Oregon and Washington, Utah, Arizona State. All those guys are going to be ranked, and Stanford has a chance to get ranked, but they are having an exodus up there where a lot of guys are transferring out, which is pretty crazy. Never really see that from Stanford, but they did have another good type of recruiting class coming in from high school this year. So yes, USC is just once again all the chips going against them, especially for Clay Helton keeping his job after next year. But going on to the big news of the past day or so is Zion Williamson, the ex-Duke player. He made his first impressions on the NBA officially last night against the Spurs. It wasn't even a game that was supposed to be on TV. Once ESPN found out that he was going to play in this game, they rearranged their schedule so they could actually show this game, which is kind of obvious. But he did only play about 18 minutes. Pretty sure he's on a pitch count, and he did struggle. I think he only had like 5 points in the first half, but then he erupted. He had like 17 straight points in this one flurry right before he was taken out, because I guess he reached his time limit on the court, and he mixed in a bunch of threes. He was like 4 for 4 from the 3-point line, which is crazy. Didn't do it with overall dunks like how he's usually doing at Duke, but he did use a lot of his athleticism to get rebounds and run the fast break and throw passes out there to get nice assists. So I'm glad he was able to at least stay healthy for now, and hopefully he can get his minutes bumped up a lot more so he can play a bit more and see what he can do over a span of like 25 to 30 minutes a game. It should be pretty awesome to see his stats after that. So I'm really happy for him. Then also the Chargers, they had a mock draft that I saw online. And it was pretty interesting because in the first round they went with the quarterback from Oregon, Justin Herbert, which pretty obvious if he's there they might end up going with him because he's supposedly the more talented guy. But I don't know, I'm still on the fence. Even though he's from Oregon, I just kind of still not sure if he has the it factor in my head. But second round, I kind of like this. Usually I don't like the mock drafts, but this mock draft is really good because in the second round, they get a replacement running back for Melvin Gordon and J.K. Dobbins, who's from Ohio State. And just recently, even in that Clemson game in the Final Four, he went off, and he's been going off all year as well. He had a great year, and he's a really talented running back. So to be able to get him in the second round would be really awesome. And I think that's a great first 2 rounds. And then they go for an offensive tackle in Yasir Durant. I remember talking about him that he might come out last year, and he didn't from Missouri. So he actually went back to get better, and it seems like he's gotten better because he's projected to at least go in the third round, at least in this mock draft. So could be a good steal there for their offensive line. Pretty sure they'll need more help though. But then also a guy who I think is really underrated, and a guy that I liked a lot, even though he's from Texas last year, if he came out, is Colin Johnson, the wide receiver. He's a very big guy, like 6'5", 200-something pounds, can definitely do anything, whether it's fight for the ball with his athleticism, whether it's jumping high enough or just battling guys out, smaller guys out for the ball. I think to get him in the 4th round could be once again a steal and should definitely benefit the Chargers. Especially he could definitely step in and be their 3rd wide receiver because they really don't have anybody that's healthy, and they definitely should get rid of Travis Benjamin, in my opinion. But thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what y'all think. Hope you can hear me off these freaking gardeners going outside. But yes, thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.